Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to every nook and cranny where our 100,000 watt transmitter sends its signal for those still receiving their news on the FM dial. Good morning to the rest of the world who listens to us via the internet, that great machine or that great network that takes us all through the world. How's everybody doing? I trust you're dry today. Kingwood flooded once again, but it wasn't as bad as Harvey, but a lot of people got their homes flooded and lost a whole lot. My friends had all their stuff on blocks, but most of them got saved. So, what can I say? We need to do better, folks. We need to do better. We can do better, but that's for another day. Before I get started, let's go ahead and move on to our geniuses in the studio in Caroline. How you doing, geniuses?
Jack, have you seen any geniuses around here?
Man, we've been looking for them guys.
I know. we wanted to get in here and do the work. We don't have to do it.
Oh, yeah, well, your genius will get that done in the long term.
I spent most of the weekend watching TV and watching those Four Souls in Kingwood up in the northeast part of 59.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to Livingston on Saturday morning, but there was no way I could possibly get there. So I didn't go. I just stayed home and watched the water. And we didn't have any problems over on the northwest side. We've got these, a few years back, Harris County Flood Control decided to excavate these acres and acres and acres of ponds, retention ponds by White Oak Bayou, which I live on the north side of White Oak Bayou. Mm-hmm. And I mean, less than a mile from White Oak Bayou. So those things held really well. They filled up, but they didn't flood. So thank you, Harris County Flood Control. I appreciate that. Saving my life. The dog was nervous. Yes, the dog was nervous, but the transmitter stayed on the air. So I didn't have to go wade over to the transmitter and see what was going on there. Fortunately, I can see the tower from my front porch. So I live very close to the transmitter. Anyway, all's good here as far as I can tell. Jack, you got a page of wisdom for us.
Yeah, good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother.
Yeah, I wrote this a while. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I wrote it a few days ago. This is my plea to the Palestinian. My plea to the Palestinian is to flee from Gaza, flee to safety and survival. You are gallant, you are courageous, you're tenacious. There's no need for your people to martyr themselves anymore. You have enough martyrs to show the world the barbarity of Netanyahu and the IDF. Flee, save yourself, live to fight another day, another way. Live to fight for your rights.
Jack, along those lines, I was having a discussion with my sweetheart because she lives up in Livingston. That's who I was going to go see. She said, do not make the mistake of confusing Jewish people with the Zionists. They're totally different, which I guess it would be the difference between, the German people and the Nazis. But the Zionists are the Nazis, and they're making the war on these people. The regular, ordinary, average Jewish person does not support this. They say no. In the protests that are going on around the campuses, the Jewish people are out there going, we don't support this garbage. Get out of Palestine. Leave them alone. Stop what you're doing. It's the Zionists that are doing this, not the Jewish people.
It is so important that folks kind of get all the intricacies of the story. Obama said this is a very complicated issue and nobody has clean hands. That starts from the colonialism of the British and others in that region, and the idea that they had the power to apportion who belongs where and what. there is so much to this story, and then that I mean, uh, we look at it too often, too confoundedly too superficially. But what you just said is absolutely true. Let's keep the humanity in it, the humanity for our Palestinian brothers and sisters, the humanity for our Jewish brothers and sisters, and that's why what Jack says is so important. You don't have to martyr. There's one thing I was on Daily Kos, and a guy replied to one of the articles I wrote when I criticize Netanyahu is like, well, why don't one of the other Arab countries take him back? Can if let's say the indigenous people that were on this continent before decided to have a insurrection again, well, it wouldn't be called an insurrection, but a fight for recovering what they've lost on for Europeans who came here. If they decided to fight, and let's say they started to get an upper hand, would you be okay for saying, all right, go back to the UK, go back to here, whatever? I mean, it probably would be the best thing to do. But when people have an affinity for their land, it's so darn hard. Jack is right. One shouldn't need to martyr. But my God, leaving something, especially when in the case of Israel, there's no right to return. You leave that land, Israel encroaches on it, and Jack, you and I know what's lying under the ground, offshore, etc. Maybe that's just what they want. Make life so miserable in Gaza and the West Bank that people just pick up and say, you know what? It's humanity. I got to just get the hell out of here. And that's what I'm going to do. But it's a sad thing. Yesterday I watched 60 Minutes, and I always considered Hakeem Jeffries an honorable guy, a strong leader, etc. But it's amazing how when you get so much from AIPAC or other organizations like that, how it neuters you. And that interview, when they started speaking about the Jewish issue, Hakeem Jeffries just seemed neutered. He wasn't even able to say as much as Chuck Schumer did, even though I have some issues with Chuck Schumer as well. But he couldn't even say Netanyahu was wrong. Netanyahu was wrong. He couldn't even say it. Folks, for all of those who want to spin the Netanyahu story as what about Hamas? Look, what Hamas did was horrendous. 1,200 innocent Jewish people murdered, killed. Understood. But folks, 35,000 Palestinians and counting. The destruction of over 70% of every structure in Gaza. The destruction of every school and hospital in Gaza. What do you do with all the kids if all your schools are gone? What do you do for your health if all your hospitals are gone? What do you do for your survival if you're locked between the sea and the Israeli border that Israel has total control of. You are in jail. What do you do? Every honorable any honorable person who is a human being and has human values can see what that kind of life is. And if that kind of life doesn't breed terrorists, remember, one person's freedom fighter is another person's terrorist. Let's talk about our founding fathers. When things got out of hand for them, they made things very uncomfortable. There was a Vustanti party. We destroyed property. They destroyed property. All these people that are attacking the students for fighting for Palestine. Well, you know what? I'm going to continue this rant, but 2 calls are on, and I always talk about my caller's taking precedent. So let's go ahead and go to Ray. My brother Ray, I think this is Ray from Third Ward.
Hey, brother Egberto. Top of the morning to you.
Good morning, sir. Talk to me.
Yeah. So, I always obviously love to try to stay close to political affairs as your show would suggest, politics done right. Unfortunately, I have to admit, my world is a little closed and it's more geared towards what's happening, locally at the federal level or at the state level. And my mind just can't process all the complexities of foreign policy. So I want to care, but I just want to say thank you for at least, using your commentary to get through to people like me who feel that the issue should be maybe more, accessible to people. But, I think, average everyday working people, they see it one way and they only get one narrative. And usually that's maybe like a conservative or a neoliberal narrative. And they take the side with the genocide, like for instance, I like to watch Bill Maher, like I told you, Bill Maher, I don't necessarily agree with his political stances as of late. And you can agree. That we could both agree, why we don't agree with Bill Maher on certain issues. But one thing that I still value from, his commentary is that, like yourself, he's willing to talk, sit and have a conversation with people who he necessarily doesn't agree with. But I hate the fact that often more times than not, he takes a stance that's more in agreement with the conservative right-wing stance than he has as in the past, where he would take a stance with the progressives, because it seems like after Trump took over the presidency and everything that came with that and the pandemic, he was traumatized, both economically and emotionally and mentally, to the point where he feels like the only way we can move forward in this society we call America is to, concede and compromise all of our progressive values to the conservative side, just so we won't jump over the shark and go into the reactionary side where Trump is. And he doesn't want to go there either, but he's saying that the progressives are the reason that America as a whole is going farther to the right. And I wholeheartedly disagree. But, that's going off on a tangent. I just was checking in and telling you, how I feel on the matter and such.
Well, look, I appreciate that, Ray, but let me tell you something. Okay, that is the narrative. Bill Maher bought the narrative, and the idea is progressives are so concerned about so many issues and being politically correct that it takes people over to the Trump world where things are so much simpler. Why? They don't. Why is it that you can't say certain things about women? Why you can't say certain thing about gay people? And you see, he himself got, and I won't say cancel, but where he had to apologize for saying certain things, etc. And the truth of the matter is, progressives can take it to the limit sometimes, as far as it's difficult to have a conversation without hurting some identity. And I always tell people, yeah, that's life. And the truth of the matter is, if I hurt somebody's feelings about something, I want to come back and say, I'm sorry. I don't want to be canceled, but I want to say I'm sorry. And I think he is sort of pushing back on that. He's wrong, because what he wants is the ability to, he has this feeling of privilege that he wants to be able to say anything to anybody. And it's a free country. You can just apologize if for some reason what you say hurts somebody. If something that you said is wrong, apologize. Look, Ray, you know that we all say things that later on we say, I didn't know I shouldn't have said that because I first of all, I'm wrong. I am wrong. And because, if I make a silly sexist statement, in generally speaking, I'm wrong, because usually the statement isn't even true. I'm talking about the past now. The statement isn't true and you have to correct it. So that's where they are. With respect to international policy. Go ahead.
Well, you were going to make a point about the international policy. Go on, and then I'll come in.
Yeah, as far as international policy, what I try to get across to most of our brothers and sisters here in the United States is that international policy is American policy. Because a lot of the reasons we do things and say things and have certain thoughts and elect certain people is that we don't understand what America's footprint is around the world. We don't understand that we've encroached every single corner of this planet. And we have influenced every single corner of this planet. And when we get some reactions in other parts of this planet, while to us, it may seem like they simply don't like us, a lot of times the problem are things that our corporations or our government run by our corporations is doing overseas. When we do certain types of exploitation in oil countries, when we do certain types of exploitation in mining companies, when we do certain kind of exploitation in Central and South America with regards to agriculture, we have to understand that our policy is world policy. Every country has to think of America, and we have to think of every country because we are so dominant in all their politics and policies around there. Anyway, continue, my brother Ray.
Yeah, and I mean that's all but relevant, and I mean, but with everything being said, people like Bill Maher, they don't even want to hear the progressive voice anymore.
True.
He went to the side of basically saying, I'll listen to what the Republicans say. And then when a progressive, he might have one progressive, every 20, conservatives, because, at some point he just got tired of hearing about our concerns for, equality and, like you said, he's settling into his privilege, and I think he's emotionally traumatized from the pandemic because he couldn't go around, and he's a comedian. So his bread and butter was performing in front of live crowds. And when you took that away from him, he felt like nothing. He didn't feel like he had a purpose in this life. And then he felt like if the Democrats had their way, we would have been in a lockdown even longer. And he kind of feels like the Republicans and the reactionaries, for all their faults and everything, they had it right on, basically, leaning back on the restrictions of the lockdown. So
that is what's so sad, Ray. That is so sad because I think you nailed it with respect to because he felt he's willing to throw away everything because some of his freedom he felt he lost. The thing about it is had everybody followed the thing of saying, let's freeze the country for 2 or 3 weeks. Mathematics just told you this doesn't, if the virus doesn't have a large footprint from which to escape, you could have counteracted. We could have had a lot less dead people. These things are not up for question. Countries around the world did it. My little third world Panama, while it had deaths, etc., it did it. People wore the mask and they stayed when they were supposed to be locked down. They weren't happy, but they locked down.
Hey, I want to do you one better. I don't want to mean to cut you off, but as much crap as they give, the dreaded C word, communism, little old Cuba did quite well.
Yes.
During the pandemic.
Yes.
For all the communists. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. It's like America and our freedom, we think we're so much better, but occasionally we get it wrong quite often.
Yes.
And
yes.
there's some arrogance in our American society that won't allow us to take on better ideas, like you said, just because they fall under a system that just so happens to be under a economy that they find to be reprehensible. And, you know, you might not say that you are with that economy, but for all intents and purposes, you can admit that between our economy and that economy, there might have been some good that could have came if you combine the two.
You know, it's funny because whenever you bring that up, a lot of folks, like my good friend Eric here, says y'all examples are isolated and not mixed like America. And you know what he doesn't understand is that America, yes, is a multicultural system, but you know where is a larger multicultural system? Panama. And you know what? The people get along very well. We have our issues, but they get along very well. They isolated very well. They had the one thing that they did in the country is that even with all the problems, they came around and said, okay, we had to do this for the common good. No, we have the biggest problem in America is rugged that false sense of rugged individualism that only exists because corporations want to make sure people stay separated so they can maintain control. That's another subject though. But Ray, I got to go to Donald. Anything else you want to say real quickly before I move on?
No, brother. I'm just glad that if you say there was flooding in Friendswood, I'm glad you avoided it, and I'm just gonna keep on listening and let the other PDR peeps get their word in. I'll be listening.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. And by the way, Eric, and Panama is the center of travel. I mean, we are the center that move people from North America in airport Tocumen and other places to Central America to South America. So no, again, the difference has nothing to do with anything other than America, our rugged individualism, our rugged false individualism, nothing more. Brother Donald, come on into the discussion.
Good morning, Egberto. How are you doing this morning?
I am doing great, my brother. How are you doing this morning? I trust you had a good weekend.
Always. Last week you said about destruction of private property. Did you mean to say destruction of any property?
Yeah, actually, look, I don't believe in. Go ahead.
Yes, because someone will flip that and say, well, then it's okay for governmental property to be destroyed. You're talking about there should be no destruction if you're putting a peace forward. You know, peace. Oh no.
Let me tell you. First of all, I like to be very, very consistent. I think you're talking about riots, the riots and insurrections that we were talking about. Is that correct?
Protest. Yeah, all that stuff. Nobody should tear anything up.
Nobody should tear any property up. Punto y final. Whether it be government property or otherwise. But here is what I'm going to tell you now. Protest is to make people's lives uncomfortable. All right. And sometimes within that protest, property is destroyed. And sometimes people purposefully destroy property to even make the point more so. Those people who do that, many times they're doing that understanding that they will pay a cost for that property as well. In other words, the insurrectionists that occurred on January 6th, and the difference between the insurrectionists on January 6th and not the rioters, but the protesters at the school is very different. Again, they have the same thing. I mean, I remember when we spoke about that. The January 6th, the protest was fine. You could go ahead and protest your government at will. That is no problem there. The problem came about when you went ahead and started to deface the Capitol, etc. Just like when the people at universities, let's say, went ahead and broke glass to go into the central building. Those people need to be placed under arrest. And just as well, the insurrectionists, they did something that even the students didn't do. They attempted to change the country from a governmental point of action, an action that was actually a constitutional action, right? And
but you would agree that there are agitators always. There are always going to be agitators. If you get them in a group, that's just the way it is. If you're stupid enough to go into that Capitol building, then you're stupid enough to face the consequences.
Yes, sir.
And what I was going to say the other day, if you hide behind a mask, or it's just like hiding behind a hood, and that's wrong in itself. Because if you believe what you believe and you stand up for what you believe in, you got to face the consequences.
Now, let me completely disagree on that one. Okay, if I were back in the days that I have had my company, that I did business with everybody, right? And I participated in a protest, I have no problem covering my face for the protest, right? Because I really want to maintain my business. I believe in the protest, but I cover my face. I mean, it's there's nothing wrong with that per se, right? It's a form of protest, and I don't mind having people, with stuff on their face or whatever. I really don't. I don't mind it at all. And I don't think it takes away from what you're doing. Now, if somebody grabs you down and pull your mask off, you're exposed anyway. But usually these are people in camaraderies that are doing it. So if you're fairly sure your mask isn't going to come off. No, I don't have anything against masks, Donald.
You do if you're hiding your identity. There's no difference between a mask and a hood, because
I don't have wait. Let me tell you, did I ever say that I had a problem with the hood? I don't have a problem with the hood either. The thing about it is those guys running around with the white hood, we know what they're doing.
Exactly. And the ones with the mask, if there's agitators in there, you know what they're doing. Now let's get back to Gaza and all that. Okay,
yes,
this
sir.
is a land grab. I told you a long time ago, this is eminent domain at its best. They gave them the land with hornet nest on there, and now the hornets are coming out because they've encroached upon them. And the hornets have a right. But the problem is they're going to transplant the hornets somewhere else. We're going to build a pier out there. And you know what? We're probably going to engineer it so it'll be a pleasure pier. So when they get – and that is waterfront property that's high in value. And you remember that place in Kingwood that used to be out there? Was it Mount Tasia or whatever that had the – artificial rock in a big mountain?
Yeah, I do.
That's what they're going to put over the pump jacks and everything else while they're taking the resources out. They're going to build a pleasure pier for the cruise ships, and you'll be able to walk through the road to Damascus or whatever, and there won't be any thieves or anything else on the road. Imagine the tourist attraction when they get it all said and done. And the value of all the property.
Brother, I don't know what they're going to do, but, the capitalists always do things of that sort. Humanity comes last. So, hey, what can I say? Humanity always comes last.
And then the other thing, Scott or whatever, I don't want him as vice president because he does this thing, that wide-eyed stuff, and I think he was raised by women, which is okay. But he does that over-exaggerated facial expression with that wide-eyed, and he's a cream puff, and how he got his money, he would not make a very good vice president.
Well, sycophants never make good vice presidents. Sycophants never make good leaders because they are followers, not leaders, right? A leader is someone who knows how to lead and also who knows how to follow. A follower just does that. I always tell folks, a good leader because they know how to be led. A good leader is somebody who knows when they need to adapt the position of being led. They know how to do that. And Scott doesn't know that. In fact, Scott doesn't have a soul. I will play a piece if I get some time later on. But we'll talk. All right. Thank you very much.
And one other thing about the one thing about the lady I got to take up for my country folk. When you got an egg sucking dog, you got to put it down because it's going to ruin the rest of your dog. And I'm not saying she's right to put it in her book or whatever. That's the difference between city folk and country folk.
All right, hold on a second, Donald. Donald, hold on. Don't lose your. I know a dog isn't a human, but don't lose your humanity here, brother. That woman did that.
It's not humanity, okay? It's everything
doganity.
has to earn its keep, or you get rid of it. And when you got an egg-sucking dog, and a lot of our politicians are egg-sucking dogs.
Well, you have people with
nothing, and they're going to ruin other.
Brother, you have people who, for no fault of their own, kids just come out not as independent as they should, and we will never say knock off the kids because they're no use to society or anything. We just keep trying. When it comes to
and the other thing, if those people want to be part of something, these protesters, why not become part of the workforce? And because we paid for their student loans, or we're going to pay for them. That's it.
Actually, no, wait, no, don't leave now. You're not going to open that door and leave, Donald. Hold on, let me tell you something, okay? You're not going to open that door and leave. Listen to me. All these kids in school, and first of all, to all my brothers and sisters that are protesting, you have one person that admires you right here in this studio. Egberto, I admire you guys. There for a long time. When my daughter went to the University of Texas, I would always ask her, aren't you guys going to protest some of this thing that's going on? And she would be like, well, Dad, there's not much going on like in your time, Dad. Because when I was in school, one of the learning processes protesting all the bad things that need to change. And we did it. And I wondered for a while where that was. And these kids, sometimes I wish I could get out of the studio and go join them, because they are doing God's work to a system that is failing. They're doing God's work. And when it comes to they're paying their own share. Their protest is making a better country. And when they grow up and start to work, they are going to be giving back more to society than they had ever taken out. And for those people who got student loans that's been paying it for 20 years and still owe most of it, they have done more for society than many of the executives making 3 times your salaries. If you want to analyze that numerically, we can do that some other time. But hey, brother, they're the ones who make this country run, to put it bluntly. And in fact, I want to tell you something. There's There's an article that I was sleeping, and I'm coming to you, Harry. I went to bed Saturday very perturbed, right? And the reason why is I saw something that I said people are just not getting it. They don't get that our economic system is a fraud. They don't get that. So I have an article to write, and you tickled me, Donald. So I'm just going to tell you the title of the article. The title of the article is "Our Economic System is a Fraud. Our Indoctrination from Birth Causes Support for the Con." And then the bullet items that I have to build this article that's going to be posted all over says, money backed by gold is senseless, which a lot of people are trying to get back to. Borrowing from rich people for deficit spending is a con. It's a wealth transfer technique if you have a sovereign currency. Workers work to enrich parasites. Slaves versus employees. Trump instantiation of capitalism scares people because he says the things out loud that every capitalist believes in. Real estate theft, corporate home buying. These are the bullet points that I have as I'm going to write the article. But the reason you brought that up is when you say that these students are not doing what they need to, or that they're they should be throwaways, they're throwing away our money. These are our heroes, because this is a system that has indoctrinated too many into believing how things are that aren't. So just I haven't written the article. I just bulleted the article, but you made me go there, brother. Anyway, talk to you later, Donald. You are great.
I
love you too, brother. You take care.
And later. Yes,
all
sir,
right, take care, brother. All right, let's go to brother Harry.
Good morning, Egberto. I trust you had a good weekend. And good morning to Jack and Howard. I want to make 3 points. The first thing I'll comment on is what you just talked about there. Well, I'm looking forward to that article that you're going to write on capitalism and breaking it down on politics done right when you do a future show on that. I'm really looking forward to that. One other thing, I better mention this quickly. I know you a few months ago said you were going to play a video on Reverend William Barber because he does that thing for poverty and the poor.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to when you play that video when you get a chance. But what I'll say is, I'll also go on to, I'll mention what Howard said earlier about the Zionists and the Nazis, and he was talking about the average Jew. Well, I mentioned this several weeks ago. My attorney that has been working on my case for me with my estate business, her and her husband are Jews, and they disagree with what Netanyahu is doing. So, you have to be careful with that when they get into anti-Semitism talk and all that, because a lot of Jews disagree with what Netanyahu is doing to the Judean/Palestinian people, or what we call them today, which there are no Palestinians, as Golda Meir mentioned decades ago that they came up with that name, was Syria Palestinian. I've talked to Steve Hunter about that on his program. But anyway, we just have to be careful with that. And I like what caller Ray was saying. Ray is an excellent caller. And I used to listen to Bill Maher, but I lost a lot of respect for Bill Maher because I think with this thing, and I think he's always felt this way, what's going on in the Gaza, maybe he does disagree with what Netanyahu is doing, but he's careful not to really take a strong stance, as Ray was telling you there, against Netanyahu, because he's worried about AIPAC and he's worried about other Zionists saying, well, he's against Netanyahu. Let's get Bill Maher in real time thrown off the air. And I think that's why he's not taking such a strong stance, and he was more in the past, taking a stronger stance toward progressives. And he used to have Dr. Cornel West, or I think he may still go on there, but Dr. Cornel West used to go on there and be on the panel a lot, and they talk about these things.
Yeah, I remember that well. But look, thank you, Harry. As usual, you always have something special to bring to our program, and so you keep listening.
Can I say one more thing?
Real quick, yes,
Can
sir.
I say one more thing? Yeah,
yes,
yesterday was Cinco de Mayo, and you haven't talked to my brother Alan that much, but yesterday was his birthday, and I know you're gonna. I know you like to wish him a happy birthday. And
stop. Happy birthday to Alan. Happy birthday to Alan. Happy birthday, dear Alan. Happy birthday to you. And you have a great brother that calls into our show every day. All right. I got to go, Harry. Tell Alan I said. Go ahead. All right. Thank you, Alan. I think, Brother Ray says something very important in one sentence, and I want to build on that because it's important. He said on the chat, Bill Maher claims they're foolish for protesting for a country that would persecute their existence just for being the wrong ethnicity in their section of the world. That shows a profound misunderstanding, not only of government policy, but of humanity. Bill is saying that the Palestinian leadership, they don't treat women right. There's a lot of rights that people don't get in these countries, etc., that they likely get in Israel. And he would be right about that. But that is not the core issue that these kids are protesting. There are rights that falls within the country, and there are rights that falls internationally. And for you to modify the rights within the country, you have to have the ability to do so as an independent country or whatever it is that you want. Bill Maher shows very poor thinking. Suppose people say, we can't support America because of how America treats its indigenous people, or how it treated its indigenous people, or how it's treated minorities throughout. Suppose people said that. A lot of folks would want to say that, well, we've overcome a lot of how we were. I swear this is not just plug in my book, but I just have to say it because I hear so much of that is one of the reasons I wrote the book, Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. And the reason why is I smile all the time. I love on everybody. I talk to everybody. I try to put out the positivity to everybody, even as that is not reciprocated. Because my contention is that sometimes you can overwhelm people by not reacting to their prejudices, by not reacting to how they are, right? So before we point fingers and say how the Palestinians treat their women, how the Indians treat their women, how the Pakistani treat their women or other folks, we should remember that we have our own issues. We are yet to have elected a woman. Pakistan did. India did. Argentina did. Ecuador did. Well, I'm not sure about Ecuador. But Costa Rica, for a minute, did. Well, a vice president who was a president for a few days. So let's get this right. Bill Maher shows why having a platform and a microphone that gives you a lot of people doesn't mean that you're giving people the best informed advice. Thank you, Ray. That is likely to the most important comment in the chat right now. Thank you for that, Ray. I hope I explained that sufficiently right. All right, Brian, come on in.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, so there's 50 Muslim countries in the Middle East and throughout the world.
Okay.
None of them want to take the Palestinians. Even Egypt, on their southern border, they built a wall to keep the Palestinians out of their country.
Where did you get that, sir?
Only have to say, hey, what? That is in the news, all over the news.
No, wait. Let me ask you a question. Brian, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. If Mexico and Canada started to invade the United States of America, would you want, and it turns out that they had more weaponry and they're beating the crap out of us. Do you think that France and England and Germany are going to come and take us, or and cede that if we leave there, we've just ceded the land to Canada and Mexico? That's not going to happen. Again, this is where I say we have to understand the issue. That's the same question. That's the same statement, in other words, that a guy at Daily Kos, the other place that I write at, said to one of my articles, not even the Arabs want them. And my article is not, they don't want to go, they don't want to go to Egypt. They don't want to go to Jordan, although most of them are in Jordan right now. They don't want to go to these places. And the reason why is right of return. Once they leave, Israel encroaches on that land. It's theirs. They've lost it. And that is what, again, the Israel-Gaza narrative in America is so bad. And when I say bad, it's so, no, hold on, Brian. You have been listening, and both of us, we learn from each other. Listen to what I'm telling you here. That's a terrible narrative to say, why don't the other Arab countries want them? You're actually saying, if Israel wants to take over X land, let the Arabs take these people that are on the land that they want to take over. That is a wrong premise. It's not even an American premise. Come on, Brian. You should know better than that, my brother.
Okay. So they built a wall to keep them in. Of the Palestinians only have to do what? They only have to seek asylum. Egypt has to take them.
Why? Wait, why should they want to seek asylum to leave their land? Why should they want to leave their land? Why? You see that what I'm saying is you are asking them to hold on, Brian, one at a time. Let's talk one at a time, sir. You're asking them to capitulate to Israel. Isn't that what you're saying? If they ask for asylum in another country, you're asking them to capitulate to the illegal seizure of their land by another country. Isn't that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying to seek asylum to save their life, but they won't do it, will they?
Wait again. Some people have more morals than that. They are going to say, I am not leaving my land. What did Patrick Henry say? Give me liberty or give me what? Death. That's very American. What the Gazans are doing is very American. Look at our own history. What they are doing is very American. How can you forget that? We are all Americans and we believe in holding. And that's what these guys are doing. Please, Brian, try not to see.
Yeah.
Brian, think about it. I want you to think about it. Don't answer now. Think about it. Why should they have to leave? To save their lives? Well, our patriots have said, give me liberty or give me death. And that's exactly what many of them are saying. Give me liberty or give me death. Isn't that right?
How many people in the... No, that's not right.
What's wrong about it then? What's wrong about it?
I'm telling you, Saudi Arabia won't take them. No country will take the Palestinians.
Stop again. Why should any other country take them? What country is going to take an America that has all its people running? That's a burden on that other country that need not be. I mean, remember that's.
Go ahead.
Of course, it's a burden.
No, your narrative is incorrect. An American would not be a burden on another one.
Says who?
There's no country.
Why
any
not?
other country.
What makes an American? Hold on. I want to show you the hubris. Hold on a second, Brian. Listen to what you just said. An American will not be a burden on somebody else. Why would a Palestinian be a burden on somebody else then? More so than an American.
It's political thinking. 78% voted for that form of government. 78% voted for that government.
And 48%
don't want to leave.
Hold on, Brian. And 48% of us voted for Trump. A disgrace. So I mean, the same way that other countries can vote the wrong people in for the wrong reasons is the same reason we voted for somebody like Trump. A rapist, a molester, all these things at once. We voted that person in. So don't, Americans are no different than any other person in any other country. That is a fallacy that has many in the rest of the world thinking, who the hell do you guys think you are? What makes us great is we have the biggest military on the planet. So people just have to abide by what we say. Okay, but let's not fool ourselves. We can all be burdens. Let's not fool ourselves, brother. But anyway, let me go ahead and go to Melissa because thank you, Brian. As usual, you make the conversation worth having. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, bye.
All right, let's go to Melissa. Come on in, Melissa. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Egberto. Good morning, Houston. Brian always makes my you-know-what itch. So I know that when Brian called, is either I'm late for something or I'm late for something. He called early. So I jumped up out of my sleep. I jumped up like, yo, Brian on the phone. But so I just want to tell Brian, it's like Brian calls and he says the most outlandish stuff. So when they do go to Egypt or Japan or wherever, and then down the road, he's going to call and say, give a good reason why now Netanyahu's going and attacking these places because that's where they are. It's stupid. It's stupid to go and chase somebody and tell them, you could go here. Oh, you could go there. Oh, you can go there, and then bomb them there.
Yeah.
Stop.
Let me tell you, and by the way, Brian called early because I've been begging Brian to call early because I want to give everybody the chance to talk. And usually, Usually he calls late and I don't have the time to talk to the brother, But look, actually, I'll be honest with you, Melissa. Brian represents a certain sect in this country, and having Brian call us gives us an opportunity to talk to everybody. Because again, when he brings up that stuff that to you sounds outlandish, to somebody else, it actually is how they've been framed to think. And if we can somehow plant some sort of a seed or get them to think about how to go through the steps of that thinking, hey, we've done something successful, in my opinion. And let me give an example. When I'm going to start calling you Jan 6 woman, because it was like when we were talking that issue with the protester versus Jan 6, how you brought that into the discussion. And I am so happy I had a video ready.
Yeah. That was crazy. That was classic.
Yeah. Anyway, what else is up, my dear? What else is up?
Oh, that's it. My next topic is for Utah.
Okay, thank you, my sister. You have a great one, okay?
All right, love.
Take care. All right, folks. Look here, we have a few minutes left, and of course, I had 4 strong videos for you, but it's so much better talking to the people who are listening on the back end. And but again, I'm going to talk about the 4 videos were about the following. Tim Scott went all fascist on Meet the Press, making it clear he would only accept a Trump win. The second topic was, remember when Trump said a foreign country's Medicare for all is better? Do I have time for that one? Let me see. I think I may have time for... Actually, I have time for that one. I'm going to play one video for you real quick. It's not a long video, real quick. Here we go. Remember the time when Trump accidentally supported Medicare for all? When Trump told you that a foreign country had a better healthcare system than ours at the time that he was trying to do a Trump care, which of course was also a failure? Check this out.
Minister of Australia just spoke about the bill that was passed and about the Senate's role in this. Take a listen.
Could get maybe even better. It's a very good bill right now. The premiums are going to come down very substantially. The deductibles are going to come down. It's going to be fantastic health care. Right now, Obamacare is failing. We have a failing health care. I shouldn't say this to our great gentleman and my friend from Australia, because you have better health care than we do.
They do have. They have universal health. I know. I thought you would.
Okay. Wait a minute, Chris. All right. The president has just said it. That's great. Let's take a look at the Australian healthcare system, and let's move. Maybe let's take a look at the Canadian health system or systems throughout Europe. Thank you, Mr. President. Let us move to a Medicare for all system that does what every other major country on earth does: guarantee health care to all people at a fraction of the cost per capita that we spend. Thank you, Mr. President. We'll quote you on the floor of the Senate.
Well, and this to me seems a really important lesson here, which is they've made a lot of promises. They're promises that are contradictory. Deductibles will come down, premiums will come down, more people will be covered. The president said during the campaign he's not going to cut Medicaid. Clearly, they're going to cut Medicaid. It seems to me that ultimately reality is going to matter in the end here.
Do you think? Well, maybe. I would certainly hope so. Look, we're living in a crazy world. I mean, what this guy just said is preposterous. Everything he said is totally false. But I think when the American people catch on, look, their last bill, as you will recall, was incredibly unpopular. The American people did not want to go forward with that legislation. This bill will be even more unpopular. What our job is right now politically is to rally the American people to work with doctors and nurses and hospitals who will be slammed. Rural hospitals will be decimated by this legislation, shut down. People will lose their jobs. We have the time to do that, and that's what we've got to do.
Now, folks, when Trump forgets that he is on stage, every so often, the truth kind of comes out. And here he points out, hey, Australia has a Medicare for all system, a single payer system, a universal healthcare system, which is what they have, which he admits it's better than what we have. And why is it again that Democrats let Trump get away with saying how great things were under his administration, how great the economy. Look, Democrats have to stop fighting from a defensive position. They need to accelerate the activeness. They need to accelerate and point out that they are the ones with the answer, and they need to do it. They do not need to be on the defensive. The policies that progressives support are the policies Americans want. And when you get even conservatives in the back end, they know that the policies Americans want are progressive policies. And that is why they've turned into a fascist party. Because again, they know that with a country where majority rules, they cannot win. Exactly. A country where majority rules, they cannot win, so they use the Supreme Court, and I have some articles on that as well. But anyway, we are coming close to the end of the show. I want to thank everybody that's been listening. Look, I had some other very good videos on the thing. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Did a whole lot of work this weekend that you guys can check out. But before, please remember, protest is good. Please remember that. Don't fall for the, you know what. Anyway, let's go to our studio because that's where our peeps are. The genius.
Well, nothing from me. I think Jack has something that he wants to say.
Talk to me, Jack.
You know, I hate the insurance companies. I call them icks. So let's get the icks out from between the doctor and the patient.
Yes, we need to. And
healthcare works for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You see, folks, what we had there with Trump pointing out that Australia has a better healthcare system than we do. And he's actually right. They have Medicare for all. Anyway, folks, and single payer. Anyway, folks, don't forget, go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Get all the things that we didn't get to discuss here because you come first. Love you all. Love our callers. Love our studio. Look, folks, we're going to get it done. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.